Understanding the closer look, how did the language of Bengal emerge during this period? We have seen how the local traditions, local language got emerged. Now let us have a close look at the language of Bengal. Now coming to the starting point of Bengal, it is during the first word Bengal, we get the concept that Bengal has been derived from Sanskrit language, or whenever we say Bengal, we remember the word Bengali, or we use Bengali for Bengal people. But the word Bengal or Bengali has been derived from Sanskrit language. It is around 3rd and the 4th century period that the Bengal language has become so famous, and the Magadha people used to follow this language as parallel with the Sanskrit language. But the interesting fact is, many of the people don't know that the Sanskrit language, where Bengal has been arrived from Sanskrit language, Bengal has been developed with many words in the Sanskrit language. For many years, they used to believe that Bengal is a different language and Sanskrit is a different language. It is around the 3rd and the 4th century period that the common ties, commercial relationships started to establish between the Bengal regions and the Magadha Empire, and that's how the language started to spread to the other areas where the Sanskrit language has been spoken. And in the 4th century period, the Guptas started to dominate the entire North India, and the cultural and the linguistic domination started to get upholded from the mid-Ganga valley region, which became very stronger during that period. And it is the Chinese traveler Xuanzang who recognized that most of the words in Bengal are similar with that of Sanskrit. He had an opinion that most of the people in Bengal are talking in Sanskrit, but they don't know that it is a Sanskrit language. That's how he identified it. And in the 8th century, the Bengal became the heart center or important center for the Palas, as Palas started to establish their control over this region. And in the 14th to 16th century, the Delhi Sultan rulers started to establish their control here, and these sultans are independent of the rule of the Mughals, and they started to encourage the Bengal language. And it is in the Bengal Suba, when Akbar conquered this region in 1586, Akbar established the Bengal Suba region, and this regional language Bengali started to become famous during that period also. And it is around the 15th century that Bengal dialects in the eastern part and in the western part, whichever part we have the language of Bengal spoken, all got united literally, and this region called as West Bengal region. And it has passed through several stages of evolution before it is in the present day state. And it also got the combination of the different words from different languages, not only from Sanskrit but also from Persian, European and Bengali languages. So it is the journey of the Bengal, which is a Sanskrit language. Many people, we get the word Bengal means Bengali, Bengali means Bengal, but many of us don't know that it is derived from the Sanskrit language. Even the Bengali people never knew that they are speaking the Sanskrit language, or a language which is similar to that of Sanskrit, similar to that of the Sanskrit language. It is during the 3rd and the 4th century period where the Bengal and the Magadha kingdom started to establish their commercial ties and increase the language of Sanskrit started to become famous for them. They don't know that they are using the words of Sanskrit. In the 4th century period, the Guptas gained control of the entire North India region and started to control the mid-Ganga valley, where it has been the base, where it has become very stronger on the spread of linguistic and the cultural identity of the Bengal. It is the Chinese traveler who visited the Bengal during that period, that is Xuanzang, identified that most of the words of Bengali are similar to that of the Sanskrit language. In the 8th century, Bengal became the main center for the Palas, and from 14th to 16th century, the sultans who controlled the Bengal region were independent of the Delhi rule, also encouraged the Bengali language. It is in the 15th century time, all the Bengali spoken people of different dialects were brought together under a single umbrella, and this region started to be called as West Bengal. And even when Akbar conquered this one in 1586 AD, Akbar also made it as a special Suba, special division for that. and recognize the regional language there, and it has passed through various stages of evolution before it came to the present day state, where it has a combination of different language words, not only from Sanskrit but also from Persian, European and Bengali. Now coming to the point here, how did the Bengali language develop, and what is the difference between the present day Bengali and the ancient period language of Bengali? The Bengali language can be broadly divided into two different parts, that is the indebted to Sanskrit and independent of Sanskrit. Indebted to Sanskrit in the sense here, indebted, in which the Sanskrit words are spread there. Sanskrit words are filled in the language. That is the Mangala Kavyas, which is an example for that. The Bhakti literatures, whatever poems are written in the Bhakti tradition during that period, has always been influenced by the Sanskrit words. And we also have biographies which are written during the Bhakti literature time, as a part of the Bhakti literature, that is Chaitanya Deva, who was an advocate of Vaishnava Acharya, Advaita, and he advocated the biographies, their life stories and everything was the influence of the Sanskrit language can be seen in these writings, which can be dated very easily because they are just the completion with the manuscripts, with the dates, with the periods. But when it comes to the independent of Sanskrit part, where we have the Nath literature, the Mayanamati songs and the Gopi Chandra songs, all these stories of Dharma Thakur, folk tales and ballets, these all are passed from one generation to another generation orally, not on the written scripts. So it is very difficult to trace their dates because they are passed orally. Only thing is we can give an assumption date, estimated date, but not the exact date. And this part is famous in the eastern Bengal, where the influence of the Brahmanas is really very less. So the Bengal language can be divided broadly into two categories: indebted to Sanskrit language, where the influence of the Sanskrit language words can be seen profoundly on the Bengali literature, and where the independent of the Sanskrit language, where the influence of the Sanskrit language is really less in that writings. The influence of Sanskrit language can be seen in the Mangala Kavyas or the Bhakti literature books or the biographies of Chaitanya Deva, where we can be trace the dates also very easily when these writings are been done. But when it comes to Nath literature, Manyavati songs, Gopi Chandra songs, the stories of Dharma Thakur, folk tales, plays, ballads, all these are passed orally from one generation to another generation. So it's very difficult to trace the dates of their origin, and this is very famous on the eastern Bengal region, where the influence of the Brahmanas is really very less. This is a closer look at Bengal, the Bengali language. Peers and temples during this period. The people from the western part of the Bengal started to move towards the southeastern part because the fertility of the soil has started to come down, and they started to move towards the special places where they have fertile soil by clearing the forest. As the people started to move towards the east, they started to clear the forest and start to raise the rice cultivation. So people from the western part of the Bengal started to move towards the eastern part because from the dry lands they started to move towards the fertile plains where the forests are occupied. They start to clear the forest and convert them into rice cultivation areas. And in this process, the tribals got merged with the peasants. The tribal people started to come in contact with the communities which start to come towards their settlement into the forest. When they are clearing the forest, when they started to do the rice cultivation, they started to join with them and they started to establish links between each other. It is during the Mughals, the other reason why Bengal became so famous. It is the Mughals rule, where Mughals gained control of the Bengal and established Dhaka as a capital. They started to give lands for the officials who are staying there. Land grants were granted and mosques were built during this period, which got the transformation of Bengal into a religious center or a pilgrimage center. And the community leaders were appointed in order to assure the equality for them, because locally the religion followed in Bengal is Hindu, and with the Mughals rule they started to establish the spread of Islam religion and many mosques were built. In order to maintain that balance, they started to establish the community leaders known as teachers or adjudicators. Adjudicators are also having like some supernatural powers. That's what the belief of the people was. And these people were called by the people as peers. Peers are Babas. These people are like saints in the Hindu language or Hindu literature books, or like Sufis according to the Islam culture, religious personalities or animistic spirits who don't have any own people, and daring colonizers or defied soldiers of God. And the cults of peers are found in every shrine. Wherever they have these mosques or temples or anywhere, they have this shrine, the cults of peers inscribed there. And the temple buildings spree started during the late part of the 15th century and it got close till the 19th century. So from late 15th century, 16th century, 17th century, 18th century and 19th century also, we have the construction of the temples going on. The temples are constructed with the bricks and the terracottas. And these temples of bricks and terracottas are built with the support of the local social groups, which are like Kolu and Kansari. Not only this, they also have gained new economic opportunities with the arrival of the English East India Company towards the Bengal region, which gave different employment opportunities for these low social groups. So they start to get transformed and get a better status economically and socially also. The status, in order to show their status, now they started to construct the constructions to showcase their growing economic and social status. The local deities, which are worshipped once in a thatched hut, and the Brahmins will start to accept this one and bring them into the local temples. So that's how the economic growth of the low caste people and constructions of the temples start to improve their socio-economic status and importance in the temples. Not only this, we have different constructions for the temples like double roof temples or Bangla dome temples or four wall roof temples. Like this, different styles of constructions started to emerge during this period. Understand how the temple constructions were there during the Bengal region at that time. Temples generally used to have double roofed, two roofs, or four roofs at the top, or the Bengal dome, a dome like structure. Then we also have four triangular roof placed over four walls. So the four walls on that four triangles are being placed, and the construction of the temple was done on the square platform, where the entire square platform was constructed on which the four walls are built, basing on the construction of whichever dome they want, like double roofed or four roofed or Bengal dome or triangular roofed. They used to fit according to that. Generally the interiors are plain, while the outer walls are decorated and painted with different paintings. One such famous temple is the Vishnupur temple, which is located in Bankura district of Bengal region, which is an high degree of excellence, which has the outer painting considered as to be the highest degree of excellence. So the temples of Bengal are constructed in the double roofed, four roofed, or in the shape of the Bengal dome. Then the four triangular roofs placed one or the other on the four walls constructed. Generally the construction of the temple is done on a square platform. Then the interiors are generally plain, while the outer walls are decorated with paintings. One such good example where the excellent paintings are done on the outer walls is, that is, the temple at Vishnupur of the Bankura district of Bengal in the West Bengal region, where is the excellent example for highest degree of excellence in the outward painting, or how the temple is been decorated. Now moving on to understand how the Brahmins are permitted to consume fish. We all know the fourfold caste system or the Manu Dharma Shastra. Whichever literature you read, there the Brahmins are truly pure vegetarians. But here is a different case, where the Brahmins are given chance to have or taste variety of fishes. How this can be possible? Let us now learn how this has become possible here. The Brahmins, according to the Brihadharma Purana of 13th century, the Brahmins of the West Bengal are exempted to have the fish as a local food. They all are considered as vegetarians, though they consume fit and variety of fishes they taste. How is this possible? Because generally the food habits develop basing on the local availability of the items. And Bengal is a riverine plain where we have the growth of cultivation of rice and the availability of plenty of fish. And fishing is one of the main occupations of Bengal region. And even many literatures, if you refer, we find the importance of fishing being explained not only in the literatures but is in the terracotta paintings as well as in the viharas. The Buddhist monasteries also, you find the depicting of cleaning of the fish or washing of the fish. So Bengal Brahmins, though they are Brahmins, they are exempted from being vegetarians and giving up the habit of eating non-veg, but they can have fishes, they can taste the different varieties of fishes. According to the Brihadharma Purana of 13th century, where the Bengal Brahmins are exempted, in that Purana it is explained, it seems, that these people are exempted to have fish as their basic food, because rice and fish is a menu of even a common man who lives in Bengal, because it is a riverine plain region where the availability of these two is plenty, and we generally develop our food habits basing on the local availability of the items what we get in that region. So fish, though it is a non-veg item, but for the Bengal Brahmins, according to the Brihadharma Purana of 13th century, they are exempted to have it and they are still considered as Brahmins. That's how fish has become a common food for everyone. That's all we have in this.
If you like this video, please give a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our channel to get more videos on CBSE syllabus.